The night my family kicked me out, I finally understood that I was never really one of them. My name is Emily Carter, and for most of my life, I tried to earn love that was never meant to be given. We lived in a quiet suburb in Ohio, in a two-story house with a white fence and clean windows. To neighbors, we looked like a perfect American family. Inside, everything was about control. That night started like any other family dinner. My father, Richard, sat at the head of the table, serious as always. My mother, Linda, placed food on our plates but barely spoke. My older sister, Ashley, checked her phone, relaxed and confident. My younger brother, Jason, kept his head down. I wasn't planning to cause trouble. I just wanted answers. For 6 years, I worked at our family business. I handled paperwork, payments, emails, and customer issues. I stayed late. I skipped weekends. I believed hard work mattered. That night, I asked why Ashley owned most of the company when we both worked there. The room went silent. Richard slowly put down his fork. "You're asking questions that don't concern you." "They do concern me," I said. "I helped build this." Ashley smirked. "You helped. I led." That hurt, but I stayed calm. I told them I had seen the numbers, money moving in ways that didn't make sense. I wasn't accusing anyone. I just wanted honesty. Linda stood up suddenly. "How dare you speak like that in this house?" Her voice shook, but not with fear, with anger. Richard reached into a drawer and pulled out an envelope. He slid it across the table toward me like it was nothing. "Take this. You're done here." I opened it. Inside was a small check. Not even enough to start over. I laughed quietly, thinking it was a bad joke. "Are you serious?" I asked. Ashley leaned back in her chair. "You think you're special. You're not." That's when it hit me. They had planned this. I looked at Jason, hoping he'd say something. He didn't. He couldn't even meet my eyes. Linda crossed her arms. "If you leave tonight, don't come back." I waited. One more second. One last chance for someone to stop this. No one did. I went upstairs and packed one bag. Clothes, my laptop, a photo I forgot to leave behind. My hands shook, but my mind was clear. When I walked out the front door, the cold air hit my face. I stepped on the porch and heard the lock turn behind me. That sound stayed with me. I stood there for a moment, staring at the door I grew up behind. I felt sad, but also light. They thought they had broken me. What they didn't know was this. They had just given me a reason to fight back. I didn't cry when I left my family's house. I cried later, alone, when no one could see me. That night, I slept in my car. I parked near a gas station and wrapped my coat around myself. The world felt too big and too quiet. I kept replaying my father's face, my mother's silence, and Ashley's smile. By morning, I made a choice. I wasn't going back. I drove straight to my friend Megan's place in Columbus. She opened the door in pajamas, saw my face, and pulled me into a hug without asking questions. "Stay as long as you need," she said. Those words mattered more than she knew. For the first few days, I barely spoke. I helped with dishes, I cleaned. At night, I stared at the ceiling and thought about my life. I had no home, no job, and no family. But I had something else. I had knowledge. For years, I worked quietly in the background of our family business. I handled emails, invoices, payroll files, and bank records. I saw numbers others ignored, patterns that didn't feel right. Before I left that house, I copied everything. Not out of anger, not yet. I told myself it was for protection. I bought a cheap laptop with my last savings and went through the files slowly. I didn't rush. I didn't panic. I treated it like a job. The more I looked, the clearer things became. Fake vendors, money sent to accounts under different names, Ashley's name on papers she never signed in front of me. I finally understood why they panicked when I asked questions. They weren't scared of losing me. They were scared of me knowing too much. I updated my resume and removed the family name. I listed my skills, not my history. I applied everywhere. Small offices, finance firms, accounting jobs. Rejections came fast. Then one interview stuck. A small financial office downtown took a chance on me. The pay wasn't great, the hours were long, but it was honest work. For the first time, no one treated me like I owed them my loyalty. I learned fast. I asked questions. I stayed late, not because I had to, but because I wanted to learn. I watched how real businesses worked, how mistakes were caught, how laws mattered. At night, I studied business rules and tax laws. I took notes. I highlighted lines. I didn't tell anyone what I was planning. Revenge doesn't need noise. While I was rebuilding my life, my family thought I had disappeared. My phone filled with missed calls and messages. "Come home. Let's talk. You're overreacting." I deleted them all. They kicked me out like I was nothing. Now, I was becoming something they could never control again. And I wasn't done. Revenge didn't come to me like anger. It came to me like patience. By the time 6 months passed, my life finally felt stable. I had a small room of my own, a steady job, and a routine that didn't include fear. But I never forgot what my family did. I didn't have to remind myself. The memory stayed sharp on its own. Every night after work, I reviewed the files I took with me. I organized them carefully. Dates, names, transfers. I wasn't guessing anymore. I was sure. What my family was doing wasn't just unfair. It was illegal. The company used fake vendors to move money. Taxes were skipped or reduced in quiet ways. Ashley's name appeared on accounts with income far higher than anything she could explain. I didn't celebrate when I figured it out. I felt calm. Calm is dangerous. I didn't go to the police, not yet. I went to a lawyer. Then another. I didn't use my real last name at first. I asked simple questions. What happens when records don't match? What happens when family businesses hide income? The answers were clear. Someone would pay for it. I waited until everything was clean and organized. I made copies of copies. I backed them up. I wrote timelines like I was telling a story, not starting a fight. Then I sent the information to the right places. The IRS, the State Business Office, a financial review board. No warning, no threats, no calls. Just truth. 2 weeks later, the storm started. Auditors showed up at the office. Meetings were canceled. Phones rang all day. Employees whispered. Vendors asked questions. I heard about it from a coworker who used to know my family. "They're being investigated," she said. "It's bad." I nodded, like it didn't matter. Inside, I felt steady. Ashley called me that night. I watched the phone ring until it stopped. Then my father called. Then my mother. Message after message filled my voicemail. "We can fix this. You've gone too far. You're hurting the family." Family. They remembered that word when they were scared. A week later, I saw Ashley in person by accident. She looked tired. Her perfect hair was pulled back. Her confidence was gone. "You did this," she said, her voice shaking. I looked at her and felt nothing. "No," I said. "You did." She stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. That was fine. I wasn't done yet. When people are used to power, they panic the moment they lose it. The investigation didn't slow down. It got louder. Auditors returned again and again. The business accounts were frozen. Longtime clients walked away. The office that once felt untouchable was suddenly quiet. For the first time in my life, my family was scared. They tried calling every day. When that didn't work, they tried showing up. One evening, I came home from work and saw my parents waiting outside my building. My father looked older. My mother's hands shook as she held her purse. "Emily," Linda said softly, "please talk to us." I almost laughed. Months ago, I stood outside their door in the cold, begging for nothing but fairness. Now they were standing where I once stood. I didn't invite them in. "What do you want?" I asked. Richard swallowed hard. "We made mistakes." That word again. Mistakes. Like this was an accident. Ashley stepped forward. She wasn't wearing her usual confident smile. Her voice cracked. "You don't understand what you've done." I looked at her calmly. "I understand exactly." They talked fast after that. Promises, apologies, offers. They said they would give me shares of the business, money, a title, everything I asked for before. I listened without emotion. They weren't sorry. They were desperate. "I don't want your business," I said. "I wanted respect. You had years to give it." Linda started crying. Real tears this time. "We're your family." I read her eyes. Family doesn't throw someone away. The next week, things got worse for them. Ashley was removed from her position. Accounts were seized. Lawyers stopped returning their calls. Their name, once respected, was now whispered. And then came the lawsuit. A former partner sued the company after learning the truth. Others followed. The business that once supported our family started to crumble. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I focused on my own life. My job offered me a promotion. My boss said, "You see things others miss." I smiled at that. At night, I slept peacefully for the first time in years. One afternoon, Jason called. My brother never chose sides before. He always stayed quiet. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have spoken up." I believed him, but it was too late to fix everything. Some doors close forever. I didn't ruin my family. I stopped protecting them. And the truth did the rest. The end didn't come with shouting or police lights. It came quietly, the way real endings often do. By the time the case was settled, the family business no longer belonged to my family. Most of it was sold to pay debts and fines. What was left was small and broken. Nothing like the company I once worked for without credit. Ashley took a deal to avoid jail. She lost her position, her money, and her reputation. People who once praised her stopped answering her calls. My parents moved into a smaller house across town. No fence, no dinner parties, just silence and regret. They tried reaching out one last time. A letter arrived at my apartment, my mother's handwriting. I didn't open it right away. I let it sit on the table for days. When I finally read it, it said they missed me, that they wanted to fix things, that they hoped I could forgive them. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. Forgiveness doesn't mean returning. I had built a new life, a real one. I was promoted again at work. I moved into a better apartment with sunlight in the mornings. I made friends who valued me without conditions. One evening, I ran into Jason at a coffee shop. He looked lighter, like he had stepped out from a shadow. "You look happy," he said. "I am," I replied. He nodded. "You didn't destroy them, you know." "I know," I said. "They did that themselves." He smiled sadly and wished me well. As I walked home, I thought about the girl I was before, the one who stayed quiet to keep peace, the one who believed loyalty meant staying small. That girl didn't survive the night she was kicked out. Someone stronger did. I didn't win because they lost. I won because I finally chose myself. And that was the ending they never expected.